The honorary degree will now be conferred. Mr. President, will you please present Dr. Hyman?
Mr. Chancellor, in every field of inquiry, there are those who, by virtue of intellect and daring advance their discipline and inspire others to follow in their footsteps. Professor Emeritus Ray Hyman is such an individual, and we honor him today not only for his path-breaking contributions to psychology, but also for his courageous advocacy of unfettered skeptical inquiry. After completing his PhD in experimental psychology at Johns Hopkins University, Ray Hyman published his classic paper showing that human choice reaction time is related to the information content of an incoming signal. Now called the Hyman Law, this discovery, together with Dr. Hyman's other early research, laid the groundwork for the shift from behavioral psychology to the modern era of cognitive psychology. Subsequently, as an assistant professor of psychology at Harvard University, and then as professor of psychology at the University of Oregon, Dr. Hyman continued to expand the boundaries of his discipline in several areas, including pattern recognition, perception, and problem-solving creativity. He has also published extensively on the psychology of deception and is credited as the founder of this subdiscipline in psychology. Ray Hyman's reputation extends well beyond the halls of academe, for he is that rare scholar who manages to entertain as he enlightens. He has published several notable books and more than 200 scholarly articles. An accomplished stage magician and creator of magical effects, he has combined these unique gifts together with his training in mathematics and statistics to become the preeminent academic critic of parapsychology. Through his writing and television appearances, he dissects paranormal claims with Socratic precision, but does so with such courtesy and humility that he has earned the admiration and trust of both parapsychologists and skeptics. He has received many significant honors, including a Fulbright Fellowship and a fellowship at the Center for Advanced Study in the Behavioral Sciences at Stanford University. In recognition of his stellar achievements, he was asked to serve on the United States National Research Council's Committee on Techniques for the Enhancement of Human Performance, to which he made lasting contributions. In 2000, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal voted Ray Hyman to be one of the 10 outstanding skeptics of the 20th century. In 2003, the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry presented him with its In Praise of Reason Award. Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate of this university, I now ask that you confer on Ray Hyman the degree Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
Ray Hyman, by virtue of the authority vested in me and in the Senate of this university, I hereby admit you to the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa. Dr. Hyman will be hooded by Dr. John Waterhouse, Vice President, Academic.
Congratulations, Doctor. Congratulations.
It is with pleasure that I now call on Dr. Ray Hyman for his convocation address. Dr. Hyman?
Your generation, as you know, faces many challenges. Global warming, great differences between the have and the have-nots, and many other challenges, including some that we don't even know about yet. You have the greatest chance of meeting these challenges if you get your facts right in the first place. It's amazing how much goes on in our world and people trying to solve problems when they don't know what they're trying to solve. They don't know what the facts are. We've had a very unfortunate situation in the United States where our government went to war without getting its facts straight. This is a problem of leaping before you look. And what I like to urge, of course, is that we look before we leap. Let me give you one example from my own experience, and there's lots and lots of examples to choose from. In 1972, I got a call from Colonel Austin Kibler. Colonel Kibler, at that time, was acting head of the Advanced Projects Research Agency of the Defense Department. That is the futuristic Buck Rogers part of the Defense Department, set up by President Kennedy. What Colonel Kibler wanted me to do was to stop what I was doing, which was grading papers, and go immediately to the Stanford Research Institute to look at a psychic, an alleged psychic, that they were studying there. He was aware that I was skeptical, but he told me he was also sending a parapsychologist from the University of Virginia to look at this gentleman as well. The thinking was that if this gentleman really was a psychic, it would take a parapsychologist to see it. If he were, in fact, a fraud, it would take someone like me to see it. It turned out, of course, that the parapsychologist saw a psychic, and I reported back that I saw only a charismatic fraud. But to get me to go there, Colonel Kibler told me also on the same phone call, he told me that, look, I know you're skeptical, I know you don't waste your time on an ordinary psychic, as he called it, but this man is more than just an ordinary psychic. He can do whatever other psychics can do, but he can do more. And he gave me one example just to whet my appetite. He said, in a room full of scientists, Geller asked someone to borrow a ring. He said, I don't want to touch it. He had the ring placed on the middle of a table in the room. He had everyone, including himself, step back from the table, and Geller concentrated, and the ring stood on and split and shaped itself into a letter S. It was a good story. When I got to Stanford Research Institute, I met Geller, and he did his tricks. The scientists there wanted to tell me all kinds of stories about what he could do, but I was interested in this ring. And I wanted to know who had seen it, was there any record of it, and so on. But they kept trying to talk about other things. They kept putting me off and saying, oh, I asked, for example, can he bend it, did he bend it without touching it? And they told me, oh, he can do it either way. He can bend things by touching it, or he can bend things without touching it. Well, to make a long story short, as I pressed them on and on and on, it turned out that none of the scientists there had ever witnessed Geller bending anything without getting his hands on it first. And typically, from what I could figure out, he not only had his hands on it, but he was able to disappear into the bathroom for a while, something that's often called urinalysis, I guess, and then come back with the bent object. And he would always apologize, apparently, and say, look, I'm sorry that I had to hold it, but usually I do it without touching it. They simply took his word for it. And here's a case, again, where people leapt or leaped before they looked. So the important message here is, and what we're talking about is a theme all of you may know of as garbage in, garbage out. If you're going to have any chance at all to solve any problem, first make sure your facts are correct. And my hope for all of you is that when you face all these big challenges in the future, that you will look before you leap. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hyman.